Alright, so Nicholas Latifi. He's a driver not too many YouTubers cover, and that makes some sense because I guess he hasn't done anything crazy yet in F1. But in my opinion, that's completely understandable. He's just finishing his second season in Formula 1, so yeah, that should say enough. But yeah, like I said, I think he's a fairly overlooked driver, and he's actually been showing some pretty strong form since first scoring points with Williams at the Hungarian Grand Prix. So today we'll be looking at the question, is Nicholas Latifi an underrated driver? So first, let's go back and look at Latifi's pre-F1 racing career, so we get a feel of his talent in general. And I feel like some people really underappreciate what some drivers did before entering F1. Now in Latifi's case, he hasn't had the greatest pre-F1 racing career, but it wasn't bad either, so let's take a look at it, shall we? So Nicholas started karting at a very late age, 13 years old. That's about 5 to 6 years later than most other drivers, so essentially from the beginning he's had a bit of a disadvantage. But that doesn't mean he would perform bad. In 2010 he finished as the runner-up in the Rotax Junior class of the Canadian National Karting Championship and won the Florida Winter Tour Championship in the Rotax DD2 class. He then moved on and made his F3 debut in the Italian F3 Championship racing for Target Racing. He finished the season off in 7th place, taking 1 win and a further 3 podiums. In 2015 he took part in the F3 European Championship where he drove for Carlin. He had a tough season, finishing 15th with his best finish that season being, well, there were two, it was 2 P5s. He then went on to race in the British F3 International Series where he had a much better season and finished 5th place overall. He raced once again in 2014, but this time for Prema Power Team alongside Esteban Ocon. He only managed to finish 10th this time after missing the final round of the season. After that, he dabbled in and out of F2 for 2 whole years before getting a full-time seat in 2016 where he raced for Dams. He had a solid and promising start to the season where in Barcelona he finished P2 in race 1 and P7 in race 2. However, sadly he only managed to score another 3 points throughout the season, securing him 16th place at the end of the season. In 2017 he raced again for Dams and his next few seasons were also with Dams. He had a much better season in 2017 where he took his first race win since 2012 in the Silverstone sprint race. He ended up finishing the season in 5th place with 178 points, which isn't bad at all. In 2018 he had yet again another tricky season, only managing 9th place with 91 points, 121 points behind his teammate Alex Albon. But in 2019 he drove his 4th consecutive and last season for Dams where he scored 3 victories in the first 5 races, 2 feature races and 1 sprint race. He finished 2nd that season, only 10 points behind champion Nick De Vries with 4 victories, 4 more podiums and 4 fastest laps. This was by far his most impressive season so far. Right after that he moved on to F1 as we all know, and he raced for Williams. He's on his 2nd season now and has been renewed for a 3rd season with the legendary team. Now, obviously his financial wealth had played a decent part to getting him where he is, but that doesn't mean he didn't have to put in the work to get there. F1 as a whole is impossible to reach without any heavy financial backing, so every F1 driver has been a paid driver in their own way at some point. Obviously, I do think it was harder for drivers like, say, Esteban Ocon, whereby him and his family were living in a mobile home just to let Esteban attend his races. But at some point his talent was noticed and he was taken care of financially for his racing career. Sure, Williams were also struggling financially when they did take in Nicholas Latifi, but now the team is owned by Doralton Capital, so the team is in a perfectly secure financial position, and the sponsorship money Latifi is bringing in wouldn't be of huge aid to the team as it was in 2020. That means he was renewed for a 3rd season with Williams on merit, which I think is safe to say based on his form this year, scoring 7 points for Williams at the Hungarian Grand Prix. So why do I think Latifi's overlooked then? Well, that has much to do with his teammate George Russell, who has had stellar form this season, oftentimes pushing that Williams to the absolute limits and achieving more with that Williams than should be possible. And people cannot forget that it's still not a good car. It definitely has improved a bit in 2021, but it's still a backmarker car at the end of the day. So Latifi can't actually do way too much because of the limits of the car, and he's oftentimes overshadowed by his world champion potential teammate. So the fact really isn't that Latifi is bad. No, he's alright. Just George is really good. So to answer the question, is Nicholas Latifi underrated? I would say a little bit, because he hasn't proven to be a substantial driver yet, because the car he drives has major limits, which might not be the case next year. And on top of that, he has a teammate who is just overperforming in the same car, which puts him in the shadow. So yeah, I do think Latifi is a bit underrated for those reasons. I do hope we get to see Williams with a much better car in 2022, in which he'll be able to show more of his potential in, alongside his will-be teammate Alex Albon. But yeah, that about wraps it up. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked it or found it interesting, please leave a like and maybe consider subscribing to support the growth of this channel. And also be sure to let me know your opinions on this topic down in the comments below. And on that note, I hope you guys have a great night, and I do hope to see you guys next time.